Hi, this is Jim Coppinger with Zen Tech Consultants, and today I wanted to talk to you about making use of spaces inside of Bluebeam Revu. Spaces, which is really nothing more than delineating real-world locations in your map. And if you look at my screen here, you can see that we've got a number of different rooms outlined in different colors, showing the spaces within this plan, the atrium and the call center, etc. And spaces are one of those tools in Bluebeam that people regularly overlook, and I think that's a big mistake because there's a lot of power built into making use of spaces inside of Bluebeam. They're very simple to make, they're very quick, they give you the ability to identify all the different locations throughout your project, whether it's an interior of a building like we're looking at here on screen, or if it's a civil site, roadway, airport job, whatever you're working on. You can define any real world location and give it a name. And that gives you a number of different features that are definitely worthwhile. So for starters, the very first thing that happens once you identify all your spaces within your plans, any type of object that you create, whether it's a markup or a takeoff item, inside of Bluebeam Revu, right, your spaces will identify where that is. So think of it in terms of placing a basic note, and I'm going to do that here. I'm just going to go ahead and I'm going to throw a basic note into this room. I'm going to drag it all the way over here, right, and I'm just going to add a note right there. All right, so I go ahead and I add a note. Now, if you look down here in my markups, as you see right away, it's telling me where that note was placed. And one of the common issues that I run into, or kind of the objections that people have in working with spaces, they don't want to take the time to set it up because, like, well, how important is it? If someone's looking at the PDF, they can see, where that note is. And they can if they're working in Bluebeam in the PDF and so on. But what happens when you have to start to generate reports or communicate or email people and get information about these items? A lot of times it becomes a very difficult process, a time-consuming communication issue to explain to someone, where this particular problem is or where this needs to, be placed or what item we're adding onto the plan. Whereas here you can see it's identifying that note is referring to the first floor wealth management area. And what's great about it is that spaces inside of Bluebeam are all dynamic. So as I move the note from one room to another, if I go from here, you see it's telling me it's on the first floor mortgage lending, right? I can move it over to here and this will tell me, okay, that's in the first floor ladies room. Whatever the case may be, any and all objects that I place, all of my communication is being built and structured for me automatically. And if you think about that, it works with just about every single type of Bluebeam Revu object, whether it's a markup, a comment, a note, a measurement, a count, whatever it may be. And counts in particular are a very useful tool when you're working with spaces. It's one of the other areas you can get a lot of benefit. When I go in and I do a basic count object, you'll see that if I go in and I start dropping just a couple of symbols, whatever they may be, into this room, see it tells me that I've got 3 of those, right, that are on my first floor on the call center. Right? And if I go again, the great thing about working with spaces is that it will automatically subdivide your accounts into these areas. So you see if I go in here and I put the same kind of symbol, I'll put 2 in this room and 3 in that room. Right? And you can see down here on the bottom that what it's doing is it's actually dividing those for me. Right? And it's telling me how many you have in each room. Okay, so some I got 3 in this call center, 2 in the mortgage lending area. Right? So without having to do anything, I can easily separate that. And like any other item, I can actually sort inside of my markups list by the space column. So you see now I can actually go down, and when I'm doing takeoffs or ordering materials or doing punch lists or walkthroughs, inspections, I'm breaking things down automatically right into the labeled rooms without having to type anything in, which is an immense benefit. Right? And to go along with that, there's a lot more that you get out of this. Right? When you create spaces inside of Bluebeam, you have the ability on any given space, right, to be able to go in and convert these. Right? So you see I've got these 3 huddle rooms here. I can easily select those, and with a simple right click, I can create area measurements for those. Right? You see right, well, they're called 3-inch vinyl base, which probably isn't a good label, but nevertheless, I've got 3 areas in here already fully set up and calculated for me. Right? With nothing more than having to go in and just convert the space. So by doing the space, I'm also getting the added benefit of being able to quickly generate, flooring, reflected ceiling, any kind of area for a room that I have to do. I can easily convert those, right, with just a single click of the mouse. And one of the other things that I can do is I can go in and I can take just about any, and over here we'll do this community room here. I can take any space that I have defined, and I can just go in and I can create a snapshot of that on the fly, right? Which copies it out to my clipboard, and then I can go in into any open space or even into a different drawing, right? And then I can just paste that space in. Now you see I can bring that in whether it's on this document or a different document. I can resize it if I need to do enlarge plans, more detailed areas, and I'm kind of overwriting the columns there, but it's just for demo purposes here today. And the benefit is that even though I've copied that space out, and you see it copied everything underneath it within that space, you see it's still colored in, which means that as I go in here and I start adding additional objects, maybe if I go in here and I'll add an area takeoff right in there, right? You'll see that that particular area, it's labeled as still being in the community room, even though that's a copy, right? And that'll even hold if I go over and copy and paste that over into a completely new different document. All right, so the built-in ability of spaces for you to be able to just go in, label things automatically, right? And it usually takes an hour or two to really build these spaces in place for all of your projects with Bluebeam Revu. And then after that, you've now eliminated the need for anybody throughout the entire life cycle of your job to ever have to worry about labeling anything. So you think about it in terms of, if you're using this in conjunction with Bluebeam Studio and you have people who are doing, they're out on site with a tablet and they're doing a walkthrough or an inspection or a punch list, and they're just dropping symbols and issues from your tool chest or from, counts and markups and notes. All of that information is being placed here and labeled properly. And then it becomes a very easy thing to go in and sort and filter by space. And now I can actually generate punch lists by rooms. I can, point people to any issues or concerns on any floor of any space anywhere. And one of the other things that you can do, you can even copy and paste spaces from sheet to sheet. So, here we have the first floor laid out, but if this was a 12-story building, I could easily take the outline of the building and all the common spaces like, the stairwells and the corridors and open spaces, atriums, right? And copy those from floor to floor to floor to floor, just a simple copy and paste. And within minutes, have 99% of my project labeled and set and ready to go. All right, so it's an immensely powerful tool. It very often gets overlooked inside of Bluebeam, and it's one that I recommend you do on every one of your jobs, even your small projects. Believe me when I tell you that long term it's going to have a really positive impact on all of your jobs, and they're very easy to build and set up. Right? And we regularly instruct in all of our training classes, we show people how to actually build spaces and organize spaces from the ground up and all their display properties and different options. So I really recommend that you guys take the time to look a little bit more into spaces for Bluebeam. And if you have any questions at all, you can always reach out to us here at Zen Tech Consultants. Thank you guys for your time, and I hope you all have a wonderful day.